What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Keep Growing, the spot where resilience meets style. We're here to help young men like you walk through life with confidence, intention, and a plan for success. From life tips to fresh kicks, we've got the tools and inspiration to help you not just survive, but thrive. From where you are to where you're going, let's keep growing. It's a great afternoon today in Phoenix, Arizona, y'all. I'm sitting next to my boy, Julian Robertson. Dab up, my boy Deshaun, behind the scenes. And first and foremost, thankful for another amazing, beautiful day out here in the Valley, guys. Sometimes I forget how, amazing and glad that I am to be able to be out here for the last 5 years and, to meet great people like these two. It's just a blessing and all, So I always love giving them a shout out to my boys and the fam that's right here. And the people behind the scenes, thank you guys for listening and continuing to be a part of the movement, to be a part of the brand. And first and foremost is a lifestyle. Like you got to live out your path. And we're all here just to offer some advice, some tips, and some life lessons that we've learned coming from our past and be able to share it with you guys and, be vulnerable to a certain extent. So very excited today. We're going to talk about the nightlife scene, how guys play a role in it. And not first, but I would say the most important thing of being him and standing out differently from a lot of the men that are out here, nowadays. And I do think there's a right etiquette to carry yourself in when you're in the nightlife scene, talking about bars, talking about clubs, and you just being able to be your most confident. So the way I want to kick this off, Julian, is I saw a TikTok. I don't have the video itself, but I saw a TikTok video. And basically what happened, it was a woman, and she basically was saying how easy it was to get guys to not fold, but basically get their attention at a club. Mm-hmm. So what she did was she walked in, it was a group of people, it looked like a nightclub. She walked past one of them, grabs the side, keeps walking. There's a girl, grabs the side, touches the side. Okay. There's a girl behind her, a little ways back, that's following her. Sure. And the guy looks up and looks back, breaks his neck, sees who the girl is, runs after her, bro. Dead ass, just starts literally pushing people out of the way. She's still walking, and the girl behind her is just, and I'm laughing at this, bro. I'm laughing so hard. He finally gets to her, and then he starts talking to her. And I was like, this is a perfect conversation to have, in a grand scheme of things, sitting next to you and having the hot seat segment around the nightlife scene. But I want to get your thoughts on that, bro. What do you think in that moment of seeing it from the outside looking in, as a guy, how do we look when we do stuff like that?
Well, immediately what comes into my mind without, of course, seeing the video, it's kind of slight desperation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
I think in that case, it's normal for anybody, in this case, a man, if he's touched by a woman, to just look up and whatever he has going on and to see who touched him.
Yeah.
But in event of if there's eye contact, if she's looking at you, well then, if she's walking away, well, then you need to bring her back into your space because she's walking away and she touched you. So to go run after is beyond
cat and mouse. You know what I mean?
No, that's never the vibe. Mm-hmm. So I would say in that situation, I mean, it's normal for the guy to look and see what's going on.
Who grabbed me?
If he's attracted to her, of course, now bring her back into your space. But I don't pushing people come on, that's out. I don't think that's for one. It's a game that's being played, and she's playing on the situation with you. It's nah, that's not it.
And I think when you involve the recording and everything, not to say it doesn't happen. I think it happens a lot. You know what I mean? But to know that her intention of somebody recording it, it's all a game. As much as she may think that he's an attractive dude and she may have picked out I'm going to do him because he's actually good looking. Mm-hmm. I still think there's a deeper hidden agenda behind it where if I was that dude and I saw that video, I'd be like, oh, bro, what are you doing? I would look at myself at that and be like, dang, she really had me fooled.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think for me, if I was to put myself in those shoes and a girl grabbed me and I turn around and she's looking at me like it was me and she kept walking away, I would be like,
You're playing.
Exactly. For sure.
Exactly.
Why do you need to leave in such a rush? You touched me. And I think there's nothing right about doing that to a man or a woman. Because if it was on the flip side of it, there's only a few amount of guys that could probably get away with doing something like that. Sure. I will say that.
But the touch, if it's reversed,
yes,
the touch just in itself.
But that's what I'm saying. It's there's a few amount of guys that could get away with, and I'm talking about dudes that are A-list celebrities that could possibly get away with that. But first and foremost, I don't think you should just be going up and touching anybody.
Nah.
But I think for the video purpose, it's almost as a unit, as guys, man, we got to get it together when we're in the club, man. like you said, desperate. It came off very desperate, out of desperation. I think the issue that I see when guys are out is when we're out and we're around women, the things that we'll fold to do to just make ourselves presently attractive. Stuff. Yeah. Talking bad about your boys, making them look bad,
clown joking on them,
exactly. Talking about how much your shoes are, your fit is, wearing the most ridiculous things ever. Like, I think all of that stuff, bro, and they're not bad dudes, but it's almost like when the night comes and you're in a setting like that, everything just changes. You know, your whole personality just gets thrown out the door, and it's almost insecurity leading it.
Absolutely, man. I always say, man, I think one of the best determining factors to see who a guy really is, his essence, is to bring women around.
That's
beautiful
fact.
Women.
That's fact. Yeah.
Beautiful women. Not just bring beautiful women around guys, and you'll see what's at their core. You'll see who they truly are and how they operate. You'll see how they are with their friends. You'll see how they converse. It's a very telling situation, and it's very interesting to see, you know, what guys are used to certain situations and which ones aren't. And the common denominator between all of that is, you know, the engagement of bringing women into the picture.
Oh, definitely.
When you see that, you really see what's at the core of a lot of guys.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. And that's, you know, basically why we're sitting here talking about it today. And regardless of what walk you're on, you know, you just turned 21 or you've been in the night scene for, like, you know, let's say a few years, you're a veteran, you know how to operate into some extent. I think first and foremost, there's a way of operating and being able to be organic, to be genuine, and to understand that you can step out from the normal realm of what it means to be, you know, a high value man in that situation, talking from guy to guy. The first thing that I want to get into, and we talked about it a little bit on the hot seat, is when it comes to these fits, bro, like, you had a good quote that you said earlier, and I want you to say it again for the episode, but, like, can you reshare that quote? And
yeah, absolutely.
Give some depth into it.
The quote is, you know, class whispers, and attention shouts, and that just goes into, you know, a multitude of things, whether it's personality, how you dress, how you carry yourself, your disposition, just who you are, you know, as a combination overall. And when you look at, you know, classiness, it's personified just within the subtleties of things. You know, it's very intentional, but it's whether it's pieces for jewelry, whether it's a certain piece that you're wearing outfit wise, whether it's the way you carry yourself. It's just overall, it's intentionality behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the attention seeking, it's just boisterous, it's gaudy, it's loud, there's no real substance to it. It's just for the now. It's very substanceless, and it's more so quantity based over quality. So I think that's something that should hopefully resonate with people, is that always, you know, class whispers and attention shouts.
No, and I love the way you said it, bro. I think if a lot of people and a lot of guys thought that way when it comes to how they present themselves outside, you know, around a group of people, especially women, I think they would be more confident in the stuff that they're wearing. Absolutely. I almost think it's the opposite. When you wear all of this, it's just high merchandised, you know, products, brands. You almost feel somewhat insecure, I would argue, you know, like I would argue with someone that always wears that stuff out. Like, it almost seems like a force than an organic thing of, like, oh, I just naturally came up with this outfit. Yeah. And I think a lot of guys dress the same too when it comes to the nightlife scene. And it just, everything looks the same across what Deshaun talked about earlier when we were doing the hot seat of, like, he just went out and bought that thing and just put it on rather than forming it to whatever his style was and making it himself and making it organic. I did like that. I'm talking like this. Dang, bro, I'm trying. It's hard on these. But yeah, no, I think what I want to ask you is, though, when it comes to the nightlife, like, I wanted you to give you some advice. Like, if you're getting ready for a night out, give us a perspective of, like, what are you looking at in your closet? What are you looking at trying to put a fit together when it comes to being outside, and especially around, you know, that are going to be some very attractive women?
Absolutely. I think for one, it depends on location. Where are you going out for the night? Are you going to a club? Are you going to a pool event? Are you going to a rooftop? Are you going to, you know, a dinner spot that's inside, outside? You know, it depends on location as well. Are you somewhere that's warm? Are you somewhere that's cold? What's the vibe of the night? So first and foremost, I would say, what's the location as far as where you're going? And then you should curate your fit based off the location. Truthfully, the location and the climate. Check the weather app. Truthfully, and it sounds funny, but it's like I check the weather app before going out and before really doing anything, because I want to dress for what the weather is now and what it's also going to be projected to be later on in the evening, or just the differences within that. So it's not more so like, at least in my frame, what to wear. It's where are you going?
Yeah.
And then you gauge that based on the fit that you're going to assemble.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think one thing that I look at besides the weather app too is like we're in Arizona, obviously. So majority of the year it's going to be hot.
For sure.
I think that limits a lot of things that you're able to wear.
Absolutely.
I don't wear gray around this time of year. Like if it's like a light gray shirt or top, I try to stay away from that unless I'm wearing like something like a shirt under it and I'm able to, I get what you mean. Because sweat stains, bro. Like, back sweat, like it's hot. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have hair, no hair, you're going to sweat if you're out in a place that has a lot of people in it. So you want to make sure that you're able to present yourself still and know how to dress around it, whether it's like you said, staying closer to some like darker shades or understanding what type of event it is, if it's a pool event, there's certain things that you should be wearing to a pool event, certain things that you shouldn't. I would never wear flip-flops to a pool event, but that's just me. Like if you want to wear flip-flops as a dude, go ahead. But again, it limits the type of fit that you can put together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, bro, so you did describe some things in the hot seat, and I recommend anyone, if you don't watch the hot seat segments, we get really into like the small detail things of what guys should be doing, especially when it comes to the nightlife. So I'd go check that out first and foremost. But when it comes to, let's say, you're going out to more of it's an inside type of vibe. There's music. It's almost like a bar, but there is dancing going on. What type of fit would you put on for that?
Man, it really just depends on my mood, but I would always, I don't want to say always, but I like to defer to me personally. I've been kind of on like the all black wave.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've been rocking my Docker boots a lot. So my Doc Martin boots, I'd probably do that. I like distressed jeans.
Okay.
Like probably like a fitted black shirt. Certain frames, watch, hoop earrings, because it's also the accessories as well.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe it depends on if I have it's not a satchel bag, but it's like it's the one strap bag.
There you go.
Something like that, just to add to the aesthetic. Depending on the time of year, a fitted black Scully. It really just depends. You know what I mean? It really just depends on my mood, because that's going to curate what type of look I go for. It's hard for me to say what I would pinpoint.
No, that helps out a lot.
Mood matters. You know what I mean? Mood matters, and also what you're listening to. There's a lot of things that come into place in regards to the music you're listening to before you go out. The mood that you're in, that's going to curate the shoes that you have.
Yeah, that's
going to curate the fit. So it's really mood based. But again, for me, I've really been on like the all black wave. It's a clean look. I really like that look. So it'll probably be something within that realm.
Yeah, no, that helps out a lot. And I think there's still a way that you can wear all black and put a fit together.
Absolutely.
Rather than just saying, I'm going to wear all black and just putting on black pants, a black shirt. I think one area that guys, tend to forget about is there's different styles for different vibes and, things to do. Like, for instance, for me, the way I look at a fit, if it's going to be a night out and it's a little bit more classy on the classy side, or even if it's like an area that we're going to be dancing in, and I know it's like more of a club experience, I'm not wearing anything that's not a collared shirt.
Okay.
It's going to be fitted a little bit, like it's going to fit my body a little bit tighter than just like my normal, streetwear, casual, oversized type stuff. And I'm going to wear probably some pants that are either a straight looking pant or something that hugs the legs a little bit and shows my form.
Right.
But I think what it comes down to first and foremost is what type of shoes that you're wearing.
Yeah.
I think every dude needs to have some versatile shoes that they're able to like say, I can wear this out to a dinner event. I can wear this out to a club that doesn't let you wear sneakers. Yeah. I think every guy should have a pair of shoes or boots like that, because you're able to do so much more with it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. So aside from like the clothing wear and whatnot, and showing up for the fit, I think one area that I want to stay in touch with for a little bit is the timeliness of being in a nightlife scene.
Yeah.
Is there a specific time that you should be there and make sure you're outside by in terms of back home? Or do you feel like that doesn't necessarily matter?
Yeah, there's nuance to that as well. I think just being in one spot all night, I wouldn't defer to that.
Okay.
Just, like the entire night, like from, of course, not the time that it opens, not, but waiting. Like I particularly, I'm not going to be in any spot until it closes. I don't move like that because now you're liable to be around and in the midst of something like popping off.
Yeah.
And now you're in the midst of that.
Yeah.
So have your time, have a good time. And then I would say like at least, I mean, if you want to push it 30 minutes before, I'm probably like 45 to like, anywhere between an hour span to before the time before the place closes. Make sure you do your thing in the midst of you being in that spot and get out. Because now everybody's on their way out. Everybody's outside. People are probably intoxicated. You don't know what's transpired in the midst of other people having their fun in the club or wherever you are. And then now you're outside. It's just a lot of things that can just transpire. And it's like, I don't want to be in the midst of anything that's not smooth, that's not peaceful. So have your fun and then leave before the place closes.
I think that's a huge one, making sure that you're leaving before, just due to the fact that Ubers are expensive. You're not Ubering, you're driving. Like the traffic gets crazy around 2 a.m., bro. Like I'm not trying to be around that. Then to make sure that you're walking out, there's 30 cops just waiting for somebody to just, do something stupid and they can have, not their fun, I wouldn't say, but their night get more eventful at the end of the day. I think nothing ever happens good after 2. I think that slang has gone up earlier in the night. I think 1 o'clock, even 12:30 sometimes, depending on the place that you're at. And I think with the intentionality of, like you said, whether or not you should be bar hopping or not, I think if you're going out with a group of friends, in this case, a bunch of dudes, I don't think the first thing should be like, where are we going to go where the most women are going to be? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think the first and foremost thing should be, where am I going to go where I'm going to feel the most confident in? Like, bro, first of all, you're spending money. You're spending your time, which is money. So more money. And on top of that, you're putting a fit together that, again, costs money. So it's like, why would you put yourself up in a place that you're probably not going to be comfortable in just because you want to be around a bunch of women that you're probably not going to talk to anyway?
Yeah, no, that's very true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like understanding that you could still plan around certain things and know more or less is like, oh, I know this vibe gets pretty fun over here, so we could probably check out this vibe for a little bit and then, go down to this place. But I think the whole intention of just being around women, bro, it doesn't really make sense to me because if you're really that dude, that's going to come naturally, bro.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take a lot for stuff like that to happen. And I would argue, so like Julian and I, we were out and I just, want to talk a little bit about this because we were out last weekend at a cool little pool party thing and there wasn't that many people there.
No, it was a good, it was a good ratio.
It was a good ratio. Yeah.
Good crowd for sure.
And I mean, we look smooth, we look good. Yeah. And I would say there were a few times where we got approached by just people in general, dudes, and in this case later on, a woman, but just all around, if you're carrying that energy, bro, it doesn't matter whether it's the amount of times that I heard, bro, y'all look real good. Like your fits look good.
Absolutely.
That meant more than anything. If you don't have that first and foremost interaction from people, you're not going to get that from a woman. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's why the ultimate thing is if you're going out, you're with your boys, the first thing should just be having fun with your boys.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. Everything else is just a plus. And if you're operating in a certain space, like I'm going to just be very candid. Guys that maneuver a certain way, that are smooth, that carry themselves a certain way, they don't think about women. Like they don't go out and think about women, truthfully. You already know by default women are going to be there. So if you're there, you already you just know, it's not a thought. It's really never a thought. You're there kicking it with your boy, and by default, interactions are just going to happen. It's just going to happen. But it's never like, bro. We not one time did we speak about. We didn't even talk about it. No, we never talked about that. Interactions happened, but it was natural. We didn't seek anything out. We were chilling. The whole time we were chilling, enjoying the music. So it just doesn't happen like that when guys that carry themselves a certain way. It just certain things, certain conversations, certain operations of movement. They just don't happen.
No, they don't. And I think a good thing to be intentional about is like you placing yourself in an area for open opportunity.
Absolutely.
Now, and I think that's the one thing that I want to stress is we're not sitting here saying don't have a plan of attack.
Absolutely.
I think what we're saying is being strategic in the things that you are planning, because if you're planning around women, that's not going to go anywhere. There's no depth in understanding how your night is going to be able to be experienced if there's not women around. For this instance, like Julian and I, we were in a certain area for a little bit, and Julian was like, "Hey, should we take a lap?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, let's take a lap." Took a lap, and we found an area that made the most sense to be in. And it was an area that I would say people have to come and go through.
Yeah.
I think if you're putting yourselves in specific areas that you're going to constantly see people come and go through, you're willing. It's like showing up. If you keep showing up to the barbershop, you're going to get a cut.
Facts.
Like that's exactly the realm of it, bro. Like if you keep showing up, something's bound to happen.
Yeah.
And we were there for the rest of the night, I believe,
we
where we're sitting at, like we're literally standing, and it was the right in front of the bar area, but the bar area was further enough for them to like have a line, do their thing over there, and countless people would just walk up and back. And what I think is funny, and I did want to talk about it on here because I want to hear what your thought process was, because we couldn't talk about it at the time. But from my perspective, Julian's having this conversation. I'm over there just enjoying the music right next to him. And this,
I forgot all about that.
Respectfully, this unit just kind of, she, in the most respectful way, bro. Like she looked good. She looked real good. For sure. She was probably standing and I mean, unit 6'2", 6'3". She was up there, bro. She was up there in height, and I was like, she's got to be D1. Like, no way, she was D1. I'm looking up at her like, dang, that's a unit right there. And she literally just goes, huh?
Yeah.
Right past joint. And I'm peeping all of this, bro, because she keeps going back and forth. And I'm telling you, you stand in an area, they're bound to come. They are bound to come. So she swipes Julian in the worst possible time ever. He's having this conversation, and I'm looking at her like, did you really just do that right now? Like, what's going on? And I think the best part about it was, I'm going to talk to Julian about this the next day. Lo and behold, we're having a whole episode on it. But Julian, what were your thoughts on that, bro? Like, what did you think in that moment? Did that cue hit?
I mean, of course I felt it, but I didn't really think too much of it until you were like, yo, what was that? Like, you know what I mean? Because it was like, you just know certain, when based on experiences and just being in certain spaces, when certain things are happening to where it's just like, all right, I know what that is. You know what I mean? I know what that's about. But when you announced it, it just brought validity to what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. Your boys got to be watching the area, bro. You're working your thing. You got to have the boys looking at the whole environment. And there was nobody behind you to be able to just be like, huh?
And it's like and again, it's a combination of just having experiences, just certain things, whereas you don't even, there's an understanding to where it's like, what's going on. Like, what's going on.
Do you entertain that though? If that was in a situation to where you were talking, and talking to that person, would you have entertained that?
Nah.
Really?
I mean, well, probably not, because a bump is like, it's not intentional. Well, it's intentional, but it's not like, it's just not
it's almost like the bar was set that high. I'm gonna let you share a little bit about what happened with that situation, so they understand where the bar was set in that given moment.
Basically, I was having a conversation with the woman, but we both were really engaged.
For sure, but like how it transpired.
So we're having a conversation, and in the midst of the conversation, like I just get a bump to my back, like a bump to my back, and so by default, I look over just to see like what was that? Yeah. And it's a woman who bumped me. Of course, she was trying to get the attention of myself, but after I noticed it, I just continued on with the conversation. There was no there was nothing more towards it. But you announced it. You were like, "Yo, what was that?" Yeah. You were like, and it's like, "Yeah, man, hey." Yeah. You know what I mean? Certain things you laugh about it. You know what I mean?
You have to.
Your boys,
you
laugh about it. But I don't really think too much of it, man. And even if I wasn't holding a conversation, I don't know if I would have saw it, I probably would have just turned and just kept conversing with you. Because I'm more so, again, like how we were speaking about, I can respect a natural conversation to whereas
because it just happened. It literally she made her way towards you and just said, "Hey, what's your name?" Like, it's not hard.
So there's things to where it's like you laugh about it, and that's exactly what we did. We laughed about it, but even if the conversation wasn't happening, I probably would have just been like, just laugh, just like we did.
Would you argue? I would argue that it takes a level of attracting women to be able to put yourself in that mindset to be determined enough to say, that's not really the interaction that I'm looking for when a woman bumps you like that. That doesn't just happen overnight. I would argue. I don't think that, which it sucks to say, but I don't think as men we have the discipline enough, if you haven't been in that situation time and time again, to understand if a woman bumps you, to not go after her and talk to her, which I don't say it's a wrong thing if you were to go do it. I just think at some point, when does that become old?
Exactly. Exactly.
Because I don't see that being a tactic that's being as valued compared to a woman just coming up to you and being like, what's your name?
No, absolutely.
You know, like
that's very true.
That's my argument. What do you think though? Like, don't you have to go through a little bit of that experience to be able to make that cognitive decision and being like, nah, I'm good with that?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with what you said in that regard. I also think there's a level of like standard that you hold yourself to whereas when things are literally outside the realm of how you operate, you just don't entertain it. And that's from a self standpoint as a man. When you're maneuvering a certain way, just in regards to who you are as a man, when things are contrary or the adverse to how you hold yourself, you don't entertain it. So I just personally, I wouldn't entertain a situation to whereas I'm bumped because you could very well think about if it was reversed, which that would never happen.
Right.
But think about if it's reversed and a man bumps a woman like to try to get her attention. That sounds crazy. You know what I mean? It sounds crazy.
Yeah,
that
does sound crazy.
It's gonna feel crazy. She has every right to be like, yo, what was you know
right,
what I mean?
There's
so many things that come with that. So because it's reversed, a guy you should never operate within that. But I agree with you. It takes, for one, having experiences and then also simultaneously knowing just your worth and how you operate to notice things. And in that combination, be like, it's all good and not even think anything about it. But I think, for one, it's having those experiences to where it's like you're able to address what it is in a moment and just be like, whatever.
Yeah, and that brings me to my next question of, you know, we were talking about, again, in the hot seat, how, you know, women's friends, in this case, play a huge part in the role of what it looks like for a guy to be open into conversating with that specific woman. Have you ever been in a situation to where you've had a woman that you're talking to and she just had a friend group that was just definitely trying to block the situation at hand?
Oh yeah, man. I think any guy has had situations like that. I've had,
like, how do you maneuver that? Like, do you, I guess, hold your ground with it and be like, oh no, like she's good. Or do you just kind of let it play out however they want it to play out?
For sure. Well, I think if you can see that there's a real tug, and you've been having a real like an in-depth conversation, or you've been vibing with the woman, and you've been engaging in conversation, and you see that tug, to alleviate it, you can just be like, hey, look, you know, I see you have something going on. Let me get your information. Let me get your number and enjoy the rest of your night. I'll text you later. You get what, you know what I mean? You're able to still ultimately get what you want, the number, and then allow her to go ahead and just be with her friends. Yeah. Because even if you are engaging in conversation of enjoyment, you can still feel the tug. So it's pulling on the conversation flow. So once you see that, you can cut. I mean, you as a man, you should be able to assess that and then be like, okay, cool, I see what's going on. Let me get your number. I see you have some things going on. I'll take your number and then I'll text you later. Cool. Sometimes it happens to where the pull just happens. They pull their friends and you can't do anything about it. In the bit of that, I wouldn't even say chase her down. Like,
no. Just
it's just a situation where it's just like,
let that roll.
Yeah, exactly. You let it roll. But in the event of you can see the tug and she's still there, you know what I mean? Get her number and then just let it be.
By all means. And I think I've had that happen to me one time. Deshaun and I were out. Yeah. And I think it wasn't from the friends. It was from the friend herself. And she was sorry, like, I got to go. Do you have an Instagram or something? Like, I'm here. It's a girl's night. Sure. And I was like, I respect that. Like, thank you for, being upfront about it and being honest about it rather than just like, hey, I'm heading out after whatever. So, I understand that everyone's going out for the intention of being out with their girls, being out with their guys. I think it is appropriate at some point. If I'm ever out with just one friend, I'm never going to be that friend that's just like on the side talking to a woman and then having my friend just try to talk to the woman that may not want to talk to him or he's alone by himself the rest of the night. Like, I think that as a guy, you should not be doing that. For honestly, that's a messed up friend right there. I would not have that friend part of my friend group.
Absolutely.
But I guess to stay on topic with the whole friend group thing, I don't think anything wrong of it, of women going about, grabbing their friend from a conversation around a dude. What I do think can cause an issue is how it's done.
For sure.
I think everything with, intention can be seen or viewed as good or bad. And in this case, bro, I've seen too many videos of women that have just gone way too like entitled of being that friend role and being like, she don't like you. You're ugly. No,
that's crazy.
Man, if I ever had a woman come up to me, say some dumb shit like that, bro, I'm telling you, that would be the last time that any of those conversations happen. But it just shows how immature things are held on both ends, like what happened to, if we're going out, I'm assuming you're over 21, like she's a grown woman right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let her make that decision. But at the same time, if the friend that you're talking to lets her friend talk to you like that, I don't want that.
Nah, man.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, how are you not checking your friend over a dude that's just been respectful the whole night?
Yeah, and I mean? think to mitigate that, you know, just from the male side of things, just being able to see the dynamics and how it's going.
For sure.
And then once you assess that, go ahead, you can get the number. Or if that's not the vibe, you just, you know, extend your hand, shake her hand. You know, it's good. You know, it's good conversing with you. You know what I mean? If I see you around, I see you. If not, you know, you have a good night, and just leave it at that. Some engagements don't even have to end with, you know, getting a number. If that's not like we had conversations, and they didn't engage with with getting numbers. You know what I mean? It was just solely good conversation, and then we dip. So it just depends on the situation, honestly.
It does. Another thing that I want to get into, again, with this whole nightlife scene and how dudes show up. We stayed on topic for a little bit, and we had a good conversation earlier about, you know, presence in a club or in a bar. And you brought up a good point about your stature, you know, how you should be working or, you know, maneuvering or standing when you're in these huge situations. Let's talk about that for a moment, bro, because I do like that specific take on it. And I don't think guys think about it enough, but like how detrimental is it to just be glued to your phone when you're in a setting and you may not know a song or, you know, something pops off and you get a little uncomfortable. How detrimental is it as a guy who's looking, you know, to talk to a woman of him just being on his phone like this while he's not really entertained by what's going on with the song or with whatever vibe is being, you know, being put on at the time?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first and foremost, like you used a key word earlier, presence. You're missing being present in the moment and just wherever you are, having, you know, a good time with your boys, you know, just that whatever environment you're in, you're losing out on just the presence of being present.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, and you know, we can talk about it because we just went to a pool concert type event. We weren't on our phones at all. I mean, you might take a video or something just for, you know, a picture just for the moment to be able to look back on the moment. But besides doing that, we were just standing, having conversation, just enjoying, you know, the moment. So not only do you stay present for whomever's watching, which it doesn't matter because you're there with your boys, you're enjoying yourself, but people can also see that.
Yeah,
they can
definitely
see people that are present, that are in the moment, that are enjoying themselves, that have a good vibe. You can also see when people are living through the screen of their phone in whatever atmosphere you're in. So the first and foremost, I would say just be present. Like, especially if you're with your boys, if you're having, like, all right, I understand people want to take pictures and get videos and things like that. That's fine for the memory bank.
Yeah.
But living the entire moment of that, being present through the screen of your phone, you're not really living in the moment, and that's probably the worst thing you can do.
It's a terrible thing to do. First and foremost, you're wasting money. You know, like we talk about, you're wasting money when it comes to like spending time and effort and energy into going to this one thing, and it's just all being lived out through a phone, or you're not even, like you said, recording anything. You're just on your phone because it's just comfortable to you. That's the natural go ahead of like, when I'm feeling unsafe, I'm gonna just, you know, hide myself here. But I think the whole posture thing, I really enjoyed when we talked about that, because I think one thing that I'm, again, cognitive of when I'm presently in the moment is making sure that I'm standing with posture.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think whenever you're working in a mode of constantly working on yourself, you're always checking yourself, like, all right, how am I standing? You know, am I in this moment, or am I thinking about something else?
For sure.
I think you have mental cues as a guy like that, that's always bringing you back into the reality of things, of a simple just, okay, when I stand, like if I'm standing here, I'm going to stand, you know, tall. I'm going to stand, you know, with my chest out a little bit and just feeling good, like relaxed but confident, you know, relaxed but, you know, standing with some posture. And I think when you do that, it goes, again, back to the whole, sometimes the most talk that you can have in somebody is by using your eyes and by using your frame. And I think one thing that we did very well in that moment was we both stood like we were him.
We were
you know what I'm saying? Like with just confidence, you know, nothing insecure coming out of it or oozing out of anything. And the one result of it at the end of the day was, and I told Julian, there were like 3 or 4 people, not women, just people in general, that came up to us and were like, y'all look real good. Like y'all's fits are on point. Like you guys look clean. You look good. And I think that's the best compliment ever, especially from a homie, just because he understands what it takes to get there. You know, not every guy is on their walk to where they can sit there and be like, bro, that's where I'm at right now. And I think it takes countless work. But when you do get there, like you said, it's toxic in a good way, bro, to where they're going to view that, they're going to see that. And that's what turns into the conversations that you have with women and maybe finding that one that you just gel with very well.
Yeah. And the love was reciprocated. Anytime we got those compliments, you know what I mean? Regardless, the love was always reciprocated. But, you know, at the end of the day, it just really comes down to, you know, just being intentional about, for one, you know, in the space of what we're speaking about, having fun with your boys in regards to just being out. You know, you're there to genuinely have a good time with your boys. But in the midst of that, yes, presentation matters, how you look matters. But within that, being intentional about your fit, how you stand, you know, how you converse, it all combines within one. And there's also byproducts of that, which they just come. They're byproducts of everything.
Yeah.
You work on your game, your jump shot. You're gonna make shots. You work on your look. You're in the gym. You work on your frame. It's gonna be a byproduct of your muscles growing. So everything has a byproduct. But again, the intentionality is of, you know, just genuinely being in the moment and having fun and having a good time with your boys. Everything else is just gonna come. When you work on everything else and you're intentional about your look, how you dress, how you smell, your haircut, how you maneuver, you don't even have to worry about anything else. It's just gonna naturally happen. So yeah, just being intentional about genuinely just having a good time with your boys and being in the moment. I think for me, that's always number one. Because everything else, I genuinely don't even think about. We know that's going to happen.
We go through a 5 days of working. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, doing way too much during the week to be able to sit there on one day off and just be not in the moment with something like that. Like, and I think the greatest part about it too was, you know, for this given moment, I mean, you don't drink. I usually drink when I'm out, you know, enjoying an event, which was nothing wrong. But like, I decided to have one drink that night and that was it. And man, I had just as much fun.
Man, we were chilling.
You know what I'm saying? Like I had just as much fun. I feel like we had good conversation about things and we're still able to, you know, like I said, make our presence be heard and seen, you know, without even the identification of being like, this is what we're going here for. All right, guys, we're back after those technical difficulties, which were more alongside of the AC unit that was, you know, being worked on. So we out here feeling a little bit more cooler now. We're not sweating anymore. So it ain't the Molly. Anyways, no, but on better terms, regardless of what we just got done talking about, I'm sure it was a great point. We're human. Julian and I definitely yap a lot, so we don't know more or less of what we got into. But before we get out of this episode, bro, I do want to ask you one question because it was a good topic that we had, a good conversation we had on the hot seat. What are your thoughts on buying a woman a drink in a night scene or in a club? As a man, should you be thinking about that if you come across that situation?
I mean, if it permits, if there's real depth in the conversation and it goes that route to where a man sees that, even though I'm going to use this word because that's what it is, that slight investment makes sense, then do your thing. Me personally, I just go off of like just conversation and like that's not a thing that I think about.
Yeah.
Truthfully, that's never been a thing that I've ever thought about in regards to conversing. Like at no point have I just naturally been like, hey, you want a drink? Or like that's just not how the flow of how I've interacted has genuinely gone. It's not really, so it's not a thing for me to really think about, but I can understand in the flow if that's what's going on for a man and he's speaking to a woman and it goes into maybe that if it segues into that, I mean, and he feels like there's worth in doing that, then go ahead, do your thing.
Absolutely. I think the perfect scenario, and you worded it very good, was the fact that guys should not be leading with buying a woman a drink to get something out of it. I think the instant result driven mentality that guys have when it's like, oh, let me buy you a drink, it's based off of looks. It's based off of what my intentions are with you. Maybe after. I think all of it's wrong, and I think it starts with the guys first and foremost. There are a lot of dudes out here that are quick to buying a woman a drink, which I think there's a right and a wrong way to do it. I will say that if you want to spend money on a woman and get her a drink, that's your prerogative. Go do what you got to do with it. But I think if we were more intentional about having that genuine conversation first, aligning on some things, I think it would feel a lot better at the end of the day to buy a woman a drink rather than just say, oh, well, I had this thought in my head that maybe she would give me her number, her Instagram, come home with me, and I'm buying her a drink, and it didn't happen. I just think that leads to a little bit of an immaturity status that guys work with nowadays. So I would just be mindful of it. I think when it comes to me and how I view buying a woman a drink, like you said, I think it has to come from a level of depth and having that conversation, exactly like Julian said. I never buy a woman a drink based off of how good she looks. I think anyone that's stepping out into a club or into a bar is going to put on their best suit. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's going to put on their best fit or what they feel good in. So I don't think it should be like, wow, this one looks really good. Let me buy her a drink. I'm more interested in how's she moving? Mm-hmm. How does she represent herself? Deshaun made a good point. I'm going to watch I'm going to watch the whole scenery. I'm going to make sure like who's standing out from who and who's really catching my eye into what I believe is an attractive woman, into what I believe is someone that I would invest that time, or in this case, a drink into to getting to know her a little bit.
Yeah.
So by all means, bro, I think, today's conversation was a really good conversation when we're talking about the nightlife and, what it looks like to be him. And I hope you guys can, I love the applause, bro. You like that? And applying the pressure that needs to be applied. Julian, I know I do this to you all the time, bro. What's one thing that you can give, a simple advice tip to for a guy that's still working on being him in the club?
Really just I would say this genuinely, and enjoy the time with your boys.
Oh, genuinely. I like that.
Enjoy the time with your boys because within that, it can be seen that you're not worried. It can be seen when you're like trying to hawk.
Yeah.
It can be felt and it can be seen. But when you're genuinely enjoying the time with your boys, you're going to have a good time. You're going to be present. And that can also, too, be seen that you're not worrying about anything else. So just go out, have a good time with your boys and just enjoy life. Everything else will just flow naturally.
That was well said. I'm not even go into anything after that, bro. Check out Timo Cruz on YouTube, y'all, again. Busted that out earlier today. I love you guys. And again, enjoy time with your boys. We'll catch you next time.
Love.